Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the show. In my studio again for my monologue today, which is quite nice. Somebody sent me some information about flying. Now, a friend of mine went to Chicago. He had a lovely time over there, and you may remember I did a little video sort of on the various supplements one can take to keep and boost one's immune system. And I'll link to that so that if you missed it, you might be interested in some of those supplements that can help you. Just the sort of general advice that I've picked up over the years, but it's not any health advice. You just do this on your own due diligence. Anyway, this friend of mine was quite ill, and he said he was either on the flight there, potentially at the show he was attending, or on the flight back, and it wiped him out for 10 days. And I mentioned this, and somebody said, well, it could be something called Aerotoxic Syndrome, because the air you breathe in an aircraft is laden with toxins. And I've heard about this in the past, but didn't know too much about it. Anyway, I was sent some information and asked if I would share that on the channel, having mentioned about my friend getting ill. And of course, if you're a frequent flyer, you go on holiday, you never know. You might get something. You may have had something. You may not quite know what you've attributed it to. And he was going over to Chicago from England, which is about an 8-hour flight, 8 or 9 hours. 8 or 9 hours breathing in toxic fumes is not very good, is it? So let's have a look and see what this information is and see what we make of it. I'll just read it out as it is. So here it is. Toxic Free Airlines, it's come from. Aerotoxic Syndrome, it is called. What is it? It asks. It's the name given to the ill health caused by breathing in contaminated air on an aircraft. Pilots, cabin crew, and passengers can all suffer from it. How does the air get contaminated, it asks? The air we breathe in the cabin is bled off from the engines, which does seem a bit strange, isn't it? And is known as bleed air. Bleed now. Apart from a Boeing 787, which uses a different system. Along the way, it can pick up constituents of fuel, hydraulic fluid, and engine oil, and organophosphate, that is neurotoxin, is added to the engine oil, called, don't ask me to pronounce it, it's there on the screen, tricestiphosphate, or TCP. Didn't we all used to gargle with TCP? I don't think that's the same stuff. Isn't air what's in the question here isn't the air filtered? Isn't it? The recirculated air goes through a high-efficiency particle air filter to screen out dust, bacteria, and viruses. The bleed air, apparently, is unfiltered. Ooh, that's a bit of a worry. What does it smell like? We would know, wouldn't we, if it were ponged? Well, some contaminants, such as carbon monoxide and TCP, are odourless. The combined chemicals have been described as smelling like sweaty socks, wet dog, vomit, or an old musty smell. Not me. So what are the symptoms then? Well, the symptoms can be, and prepare yourself, take a deep breath, headache, dizziness, sore throat, nose and eye irritation, breathlessness, cold, flu-like feeling, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, mental confusion, memory loss, fatigue, hot flushes, nerve pain, anxiety, chemical bronchitis, pneumonia. And the long-term pain could well be the following. Pains in the arms, pins and needles in the hands, and feet, numbness, muscle pain, weakness, joint pain, chronic fatigue, nerve damage, difficulty finding the words, dyslexia, inability to regulate the body temperature, asthma, and depression. These are just some of the symptoms. You can suffer from some or all of them. Blimey, can you imagine suffering from all of those? You'd be one jittering mess, wouldn't you? Depending on how much you've been exposed. Some people can die of heart failure, heart attacks, and brain hemorrhages. And I was sent a whole load of newspaper headlines of people who had died from being in an air cabin who had died from these things. So it's a real thing, and it's a real worry for people. If you've had it, if you've died from it, let me know. Be interesting to hear. Obviously, you can't let me know if you died from it, but you know what I mean. If you felt like you died from it, you've been very ill. In the comments below would be great. Do the symptoms start immediately? Some people will develop symptoms immediately. Others would take days or even weeks after the flight to react to them. So why doesn't everyone on the aircraft get ill? Well, basically it comes down to your state of health. Everyone's ability to detoxify is different. Genetic susceptibility, age, amount of previous exposures, diet, level of exercise, medication being taken, general fitness, and weight can determine how much you have been affected. So that's that. I've never been ill after a flight, so it doesn't affect me, does it? Says the voice of scepticism. And it says, well, your blood pressure could be raised without you realising it. Also, if the pilot flying your plane is breathing contaminated air, it could affect his ability to concentrate and make decisions. And we do know that pilots do need to make a few decisions. Some of those decisions are to take off and land. And some of those decisions are to land at an appropriate airport rather than on, say, two Twin Towers in America or some such thing. What can I do? What can you do? Well, let's find out. You can wear a mask. I think a few people might have an adversity to wearing a mask. When you fly, particularly during engine startup, takeoff, taxi, climb, and from the top of the descent to the engine shutdown. Also, whenever you smell fumes and, basically put a paper bag over your head, you'll be all right. Ask the cabin crew for aircraft registration and write it down. Insist the cabin crew report any unusual smells and cabin conditions to the captain. It's funny how they call airline pilots captains when captains are on boats, ships and things, aren't they? But anyway, drink lots of water, increase sweating, with exercise and saunas, obviously not on the plane. So that did confuse me somewhat. And take a gram of vitamin C every hour that you're in the air. If you're allowed to take powders onto the airplane, are you allowed to take powders, suspicious-looking white powder, vitamin C, which might be ascorbic acid or something? Get your blood pressure checked after every flight. Raise awareness. Tell your friends and family and other passengers about the problem, which is what we're doing here. We're very caring and sharing on this channel. And be aware of other people on your flight coughing or complaining of headaches or dizziness. They may be more susceptible and give you an early warning. It finishes off by saying passengers and crew are the only chemical detectors on board an aircraft. And there's some various places that you can go, and there's an address there, Safety Data at CAA Aviation in Gatwick, if you want to. I'll put links in the description if you have suffered from this. So what do you think? Are you somebody who does go on these flights? I mean, you wouldn't get me in an aeroplane anymore. I've just gone off the whole thing about being in an aluminium tube 30,000 feet above the air. And the other thing that dawned on me, really, is what with all the chemtrailing and all the other particles that they're spraying in the air, if that's all coming into the cabin, are they not breathing in some of that as well? That doesn't sound very good to me at all. I would much rather go, and I've said this before to my lovely partner, the lovely Julia, of course, and others and other friends. I am not frightened of getting on a microlight. I've been on a microlight, and the other type, which has a what is it, paralight or something? The one with a parachute on the top, I'm not parascending, is it? Or something like, I don't know. What do I know? I know nothing. But I have been up on one of those, and I've been up in a microlight. And although you're just sitting in a go-kart, effectively, with an old plastic bottle with some petrol or diesel in it, and a lawnmower engine behind you, and you're like that, I felt so much safer. Even though you look down and there's no floor, there's just the metal framework of the of the microlight, and you're in there. I haven't flown it because I'm not that experienced. I flapped my arms, but that didn't help. The pilot was doing all of that. We'd touch down and took off, and touch down and took off. It was great fun. Loved it. But getting into an aeroplane with several, 100 other people or 80 other people, however many go on these aircrafts, in a tube when you go through turbulence and any sort of panicking and can't breathe and all the toggles with these masks come down. Not for me, thank you very much, which does mean I'm restricted to this country to drive around as much as you can, avoiding all the cam scams that are on the gantries and things to see this country. Anyway, so that was it. Bit of rambling there at the end, which is always good. Maybe not. Thank you to everybody who supports the channel. Really appreciate it. It's very difficult to keep this channel going with the demonetization of YouTube. And, of course, we've seen the censorship of some of the other platforms now that I think one of them, and I can't remember which one it is, apparently you can't even access it using a VPN. So that's a bit of a shame, isn't it? But there we are. We will keep doing what we do, try and get what we can get out as much as we can to encourage people, keep them smiling, keep them happy, and raise the old vibrations. Mine, I think, have gone right over my head. Until next time, thank you for watching. Goodbye.